Hello everyone. So I recently made my website for my coffee brand using Lovable, and I just wanted to share a quick tutorial on certain things that made it easier for me to be able to build this website with all the coffee landing pages and the product landing pages with Lovable within 2 days. And it just took me 2 days. The prompting experience was very nice. And overall, I think for static websites like mine, it makes a lot of sense to just use an AI tool like Lovable because the design is good, it works smooth, and there's not a lot of integrations involved. On the other hand, I've also used V0 by Vercel, which works really well for my coffee accounting app. So I have a small coffee shop and I'm using this app to track the sales and expenses for the coffee shop. So this is made on Vercel. So I'm also going to slightly compare those two platforms and tell you which one is better for what. So let's get started. In terms of the overall workflow that I followed is I gave the entire website brief to ChatGPT first. Then I used ChatGPT to write the prompts for Lovable. And then I put in the prompts from ChatGPT because what happens is you initially start off with having a thought process in mind, and this is basically what AI is solving. AI can move your thoughts to execution without having this whole range of developers and designers and UI UX people and all getting involved. In fact, my own website for my coffee brand is currently on Shopify, and the reason I'm moving it from Shopify is, first of all, if you look at the new website now, you see that it's more of a landing page. It's more of an experience. It's not just a product, which is what happens when you have a standard Shopify store. Everything just looks the same, right? It's all e-commerce. There's a product. There's like your standard CRO stuff. I'm not saying that it's wrong, but I wanted to do something different. So on my website, even on my Shopify website, I try to make it as much of an experience as a landing page as possible. And the new design is basically inspired by the fact that most people order the bold coffee, most people order the black fin. So I wanted to make it dark themed, and I still wanted to keep the luxury experience. And it is a specialty coffee, so it is a special luxury kind of coffee. It's not super premium in terms of the price point, but it's a very good coffee sourced from family farms, and I wanted to bring that kind of a premium experience to the landing page as well. So now it looks way more of a product landing page than an e-commerce page. And this is what I wanted to achieve. So what I've done is I've basically made a home page with Lovable, and then have two landing pages, one for Viet Brew Bold and one for Viet Brew Elegant. I'm going to replace my current Shopify website with this new website, and I don't really have to pay for Shopify anymore. And this just shows the power of a lean launch. I could have just done this from the first day. If I was familiar with these tools, I would have just created these landing pages, link them to a Google form, let people order on the Google form, and then just accept the payments via WhatsApp. I was doing the exact same thing with my Shopify store, so it didn't really make any sense to pay for Shopify on a monthly basis because I'm currently not integrating it with the payment gateway, and I'm anyways taking UPI payments. Any brand who wants to start lean, and I think even to a large extent, if they have to just build a static website for a business, I think this makes a lot of sense. I gave in all my thoughts of what should happen exactly from a user perspective. And I think this is like a good hack to follow. Don't try to be a developer or designer. Just say, as a user, this is how it should flow. And then let ChatGPT write the prompt. The reason why I do this and the reason why I suggest this is if you start writing the prompt directly in Lovable, you're going to go back and forth a bunch of times and you're going to lose credits, right? So I've built this website for free. I've not paid for a Lovable subscription or anything. So the thoughts and the finalization of the prompt should happen on ChatGPT and not on those platforms that build the websites, because that uses up credits, right? So hero section, this is the style. I said that I like the overall UI UX from Cred. I gave it some references. I said, this is the kind of visual that we want to show. This is the product description. You just want 2 CTAs. The pricing, it just, sort of came up with something. So I fixed that later on. And then it told me, okay, these are the links to add and so forth. And then I updated it. So you go back and forth a bunch of times on a platform like Lovable. Instead of doing it on the platform itself, you do it from ChatGPT. So I said, okay, can you add in more sections based on this? So hero section, story section. What I did is I actually gave my website, which is the current website. If you don't have a current website, you can give an input from a Google Doc or from your previous brainstorming session, from your meeting notes. If you have co-founders, if you had some discussions with them, take out the meeting summaries, put it in ChatGPT. So it's going to directly translate your vision, mission, and values into your website design prompt, which is great, right? So I've given all of those inputs to add these sections. And then it says, do you want me to draft the full HTML, CSS? I was like, no, I just want the Lovable stuff. And then I completed the website. I took a screenshot of the entire landing page, gave it back to ChatGPT. This is another thing, and asked it to update. So it gave me a recommended structure. It also gave me the prompt to duplicate for the second product. So because I have two types of coffee, I was able to duplicate the same for the next one. And then once it writes the prompt, I would just copy paste that prompt into Lovable, right? Like this is the entire prompt. And then Lovable would do the work. It would actually, start developing the pages, send me the inputs. I was uploading images and saying, upload these images, add these images. This is something I realized I should have done in the first go just to save on credits. So the way credits work is also very interesting. I would recommend reading for every platform how credits work because they differ for each platform. But with Lovable, what I've realized is you do all the back and forth on the prompts on ChatGPT and then give the prompt final input to Lovable. That works really well. So in terms of design, it's always important, I think, to mention the design notes. So design theme, dark black background, same premium style, minimalist and luxurious, central headline with two large product cards. This is something which we did for the homepage. So let me show you this one as well. This is just a simple homepage where I have both kinds of coffee, and then people can say explore bold and explore elegant, like which do they like, Robusta coffee, do they like Arabica coffee? Based on that, they can select the landing page. And the design notes I think are really important. So if you summarize the design notes, you'll get something which is very relevant and close to what you're looking for. And then put that up on Lovable, and this website was honestly just done in 2 days. It's a beautiful site. I like the design. It's got all the options. I've added an order on WhatsApp option so people can just click that and continue to chat and say, like this is the website, this is the coffee that I want. So simple website done with AI. Lovable is actually quite interesting. You just put in the prompt, you get the website. Very good for statics. Now, when I actually tried Lovable for something more advanced, so I did an easy KT app, which KT in Vietnamese means K-Tuan, which is basically accounting. So I made a KT app and I connected with Supabase, the database stuff. There was a bunch of SQL queries that it asked me to review, and I'm not an expert at SQL or anything. So started up showing a lot of errors. And this is something I read in Reddit communities and threads as well, that once you start building on top of the fundamentals, you've got the static landing page, you've got a static site. But then once you start building on top of that, like you're doing advanced stuff, it will show a lot of errors, which is something seems to be a problem with Lovable, and you still lose on the credits. So for that, I actually went ahead and used something called Vercel V0, and I found the experience to be really good. So I have a small coffee shop, I can basically track which drink I sold and then add the date, add the sale. I can track the expenses. And these are all, by the way, like fields that I have given. Again, I use the same process. I use ChatGPT to write the prompt for Vercel V0 and then gave that input to the platform to build this kind of an app. And this is something that even my team at the cafe can use, so they can add expenses. There's a simple link. It's hosted on Vercel itself, sales, expenses, and overall history. I can export the history so I can see how we are doing on a month-on-month basis. Of course, this is just a 2-month-old cafe, so we still need to figure that out. But overall, I would say the good takeaways and the overall experience for me was Lovable was super good for the first time experience. The aha moment, the design that comes in when you give the prompt. I was super impressed with Lovable. For something advanced where I have to connect a database, I need to keep changing the features, I found that Vercel V0 was able to handle my requirements really well, and the modifications did not throw up a bunch of errors. That was my experience so far. Just wanted to summarize in this video so that you guys can also share your thoughts. Maybe try out these tools if you haven't tried out yet. I'm trying to build like one website every week just to play around with different tools and see how they work, to be updated about what's happening in AI. And I would recommend you to do the same, to really experience the power of AI and to learn AI. The best way, like I always say, is to just execute some projects. If you don't have your own brand, just make up a brand. Maybe you want to make a personal expenses app, which is the project that I'm going to work next. So I'm going to make my own personal expense tracking app because I haven't found something that is great that works on both my device, my wife's devices, because we add expenses as a household, and it has my customized categories and it's free to use. Like that's the best part. So go ahead, play around with these tools. Let me know in the comments if you have some suggestions or some tips or some ideas. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.